And we are live for another exciting episode of the Tennis Galaxy podcast. I'm your host Prasad from Mumbai. It's 7 a.m. We are slightly short, well, we are slightly delayed by mistake. But yeah, anyway, joining me from US are the two great analysts who are here, Rajke and Prakash. Rajke, how you doing?
I'm great. How is Prakash?
I'm
Prakash,
doing good, guys. Thank
but
you. How are you
yeah,
guys?
and apologies for the late arrival. The net connection kind of gave up, so technical issues. But anyway, we've got this up and running, and there's so much to discuss on today's episode. We are already on the fifth one, if people are tuning in. And we've got so much to talk. Federer's 10th at Halle. We've got Andy Murray's comeback. We've got Feliciano Lopez, who won the double at the age of 37. So is Federer. But anyway, and we've got the young Felix who's rising up the charts slowly and steadily, and discussing all this will be Prakash and Rajke. So let's get straight to the point and direct our first question to Rajke. Rajke, Andy Murray's comeback. What did you make of that?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's doubles and not singles. So I'm waiting for the day when I can see him back in singles. That would be even better. But it's quite amazing that Andy Murray makes comeback on his own home country, London, basically in Queens, and he wins it straight away with Feliciano Lopez. Fantastic! I never expected him to do so well in the very first tournament that he's back. So I'm very happy for Andy.
Prakash, how did the comeback, take place? Like, was there a withdrawal from somewhere, or was it just last minute? I mean, we've heard people have turned him down. For example, Ash Barty, but
Yeah,
but that was good, isn't it? And how did everything fall in place? Was he targeting the Queens in the first place?
yeah. This was announced pretty well in advance that he was going to play with Lopez at Queens, and I think even for Wimbledon, the doubles he's good. It's just the mixed doubles. I think he's having trouble
Hmm.
finding players, people to play with him. I find it very strange. But I guess there are like I think Kiki Mladenovic. She was saying that it would be too much for her to play like three events because she's already playing doubles and singles. So I guess that might be the issue for a lot of the women because
Hmm.
they already play. The top women play both doubles and singles. So I think, but I would still find it very strange that no one would take up playing mixed doubles with Murray in Wimbledon. But then there's a tweet from Sharapova, so who knows? Maybe we will see like Andy Murray Sharapova or like Andy Murray Venus Williams, which would be great.
And Andy Murray's mom's been going all about on Twitter,
Right.
posting videos. So you never know. And she's had a slight dig at everyone who's going to turn him down in the future. So I guess so with the next person to turn him down is actually going to face the wrath of Mother Murray, we can say. but anyway, which was happy times for Andy, and it's so good to see him back after all the injuries he's had. And most probably, I think the Wimbledon Grand Slam Wimbledon will be his last, as he has announced. But let's
Yeah.
see. Let's hope for the
Uh,
best. And
yeah.
Andy Murray's comeback was one talking point, but the other talking point, which is the highlight of the episode, is Federer's 10th ATP title, Halle title, and what a performance! What a week he's had. His 10th title in 13 attempts, and beating David Goffin in the final. The second set being a one-way traffic. Compared to his game matches against Songa, which Prakash, we've discussed on the group,
Right.
was going to be very tough. And then you had Batista Agut, who had never won a set against him, but even that match went to the wire, and Federer kind of got in through the back door. Rajki, I'm going to go to you first and take us through that final. David Goffin versus Federer. The first set being so competitive. Goffin almost breaking Federer. and then the second set being a one-way traffic where Federer had a triple break and sealed the deal.
Yeah, so Goffin is a dangerous opponent for Federer because we all know that he beat Federer in World Tour finals a couple of years ago. So even though grass is Federer's favorite surface, you can never write Goffin off. So the first set was really difficult for Federer, but I think once he got going, he played much better in the second set, and then probably the belief dropped a little bit from Goffin towards the end. And this is not a big surprise because Federer is a much better grass court player. But still, Goffin made him work very hard in the first set. And I'm happy to see that Federer had a good end to the tournament. His semi-final and final victories were in straight sets. But as you said before that, he had two tough matches against Tsonga and Agut. But towards the end, he was finding some of the form which would make him one of the favorites going into Wimbledon.
Absolutely. Prakash, Federer's first serve is still some problem. He still has to improve a lot because at times during the Halle Open, the first serve kind of deserted him. I mean, he started so brightly in the first set, but in the second set, being a breakup, everything used to go turn around. The opponent used to come at him on his second serve as well, and turn the tide and that take it to the third set, especially the Tsonga game where he was a set up and 3-1 up, and Tsonga turned it around and almost won it. And as far as Batista Agut goes, the same happened. It happened for two nights in a row until the semi-final and final were an easy path for most of the match. But yeah, what do you have to say about his first serve? What do you have to say about his form in general compared to the last year at Halle and this year at Halle?
Well, I mean, I think last year he lost the match title in the final, but this year, even though he has won it, I think he was still patchy throughout the tournament, and even in the final, I would say the first set was competitive, but I mean it was not vintage Federer. As you said, there are a lot of lapses, and I think those are things he'll have to clean up.
Yeah,
Because he cannot afford those kind of lapses in a best of five, right?
yeah,
I mean, technically you do get a lot of space in a best of five, but also he doesn't want to play like lengthy matches. The goal is like finish matches quickly, as
correct.
much as possible. And as we saw, this was one of the, I would say, the most toughed out grass court tournaments that I've seen Federer win. So I would say, but no, it definitely helps to have won the title. Definitely, it's better than going in with a loss. So that should do him good, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Perfect. And we are into the Wimbledon qualifiers this week, and the Wimbledon starts next week. But Rajke, I have a question from the viewers, and we've heard the news that Federer is going to be seeded number two now. The Wimbledon seedings aren't much like the rankings. I mean, they take certain things into consideration. So we were speaking even before Halle how Federer has to be number two seeded here so that he can, so even Nadal and Djokovic will meet in the semifinals and then one of them will meet in the final. Please explain to us how do these seedings work, if you can, and how Federer being number two is very important for him winning his 21st Grand Slam.
Okay, so in most Grand Slams, in fact, in every Grand Slam other than Wimbledon, what they do is take the ATP ranking points, and person with the highest number of points is the first seed, and then the next highest is the second seed, and so on. What Wimbledon does is to add the grass court results from the previous 2 years. So to the ATP ranking points, you add 100% of the grass court points from the previous year, and 75% of the grass court points from the year before that. That's why the grass seedings are going to be a bit different from the seedings for the other Grand Slams.
Perfect. Perfect. So Federer at number two then, and we've discussed this at the French Open as well. But Federer,
and just one thing: it's 75% of the points for the best grass court tournament.
okay,
In between years 1 and 2 before, but 100% of all grass court tournaments in the year before. So
Yeah.
So yeah, and coming back to our original now, the question is that how does it help Federer now? He's seeded number two.
Okay,
Djokovic is
so
number one. Nadal is three.
yeah, so Federer seeded number two. That means that he's going to avoid Djokovic till the final. I think that's a good thing. I know there's a point of view going around that it's better for him maybe to play Djokovic in the semifinal, but from a Federer point of view, I think this is good. And then this also means that we know that the defending champion plays on Monday,
Hmm.
opening the championship. So that means that Federer is going to play on Tuesday in
Yeah.
the first week, and by extension, he's also going to play on Thursday and Saturday.
Hmm.
So
Tuesday,
and
Thursday, and Saturday. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, for the first week. So we both know that he's not going to play Djokovic till the final, and we also know the days on which he's going to play in the first week. So that's the new information we have after Hala.
Perfect. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So if you're listening to this, the Wimbledon starts on the 1st of July. That means Federer plays on 2nd, 4th, and 6th, which is a
Correct.
Tuesday, Thursday, and a Saturday.
Correct.
And there have been certain other things, guys, in at Hala, and there have been certain things at Queens as well. Prakash Lopez, at the age of 37, I think he played a marathon there at Queens, and especially in the last 2 days. There were 5 games consecutive on the center, the main court, and he was a part of all of it, and he won them all. What does this double victory, stand in his career, and where does he go from to Wimbledon from here now, Feliciano Lopez?
In his own words, it was the best moment, he said, no, because 2 years back he won Queens and he thought that was the greatest moment. But then to win the way, just even without considering the doubles, just the singles, no,
Yep.
he was involved in a third set tiebreak, I think, right, with the younger Felix, Auger Elysium, and then he had to fight a three-setter against. I think the tiebreaker, third set tiebreaker was with Simon in the final. I
Yep.
think,
Simon
right?
in the yep, correct. Simon, yeah.
Final, the semi-final was just a three-setter. But yeah, but basically two tough matches to close it out. And I mean, he was playing as a wild card. And then, of course, you add the doubles title along with Murray. That's just phenomenal to do that at 37 years old. That's
Yeah.
just amazing. And that's a great achievement. And what it will mean for Wimbledon, I mean, he's always been a good grass court player. And but I mean, he's not been able to make like deep run as he should have at Wimbledon. With the game he has. Uh, will he be able to do it this time? I'm not so sure, but I mean, it definitely again, it's like a great shot in the arm. We'll have to see
Yep.
what he's going to do with it. But I think again, no, sadly, or no, the good and bad with tennis tournaments is that every tournament the slate is wiped clean. You start again afresh. So he has to again start from the beginning and win like 7 best of 5 matches, right? So yeah, it
Absolutely.
would
Yeah.
be great to because just because the way he plays tennis, it would be great to watch him do well, at Wimbledon.
So yeah, a great achievement from his own point of view, and as you said, correctly mentioned, you wipe the slate clean before every tournament. It's a clean slate. You start fresh, and then see where you go. And we've got a certain young player to discuss here, and Rajke is a big fan of his. So I'm going to direct the question straight to him, and that is the rise of Mr. Felix. Rajke, even me, as someone who's not followed the next gen so far, who's starting to follow the next gen, what can you tell us about Felix, the young guy? Starting with his name, because I want to start pronouncing it.
The way you pronounce his name is Felix Auger Aliassime. Felix Auger Aliassime. That's how we say his
Okay.
name.
Okay.
He's, of course, from Canada, francophone. He speaks French. Amazing player. I mean, he's been tipped for greatness for a while now, and it was just a question of when he's going to break through. And a lot of us have felt for many years that this is going to be the next all-time great. Now that's a lot of pressure to put on young shoulders. So perhaps that can wait for the time when he wins the Grand Slam. But there's so much right about Felix. His serve is wonderful. His return is good. Backhand, forehand, great movement, but above all, fantastic maturity for his age. Always learning, always picking up the positives. And he was asked in a press conference or in an interview what changed this year, and he said he's trying to get as consistent as possible this year, because last year he would have some good performances, but then he would have some letdowns as well. So this year he's working on his consistency, and so far we've seen it. Right? I mean, he reached the semi-final in Indian Wells, and this tournament was fantastic for him. He beat Dimitro. He's a good
Yeah.
player on grass. Dimitro, we beat
Yeah.
him, and then Kyrgios.
Yeah. In 3 sets. Yeah.
Kyrgios in 3 sets, and these two are opposites, in their behavior, and in many senses. Kyrgios and Felix, and then Tsitsipas. And here's a
First.
very interesting thing. Tsitsipas has now lost to Felix the two tour matches they've played, and also I think a couple of matches in juniors as well. So Tsitsipas was saying after this particular match that he's wondering whether he can ever beat Felix. If he
Oh,
has
yeah.
that kind of a psychological advantage over a future Grand Slam contender like Tsitsipas, that's a great asset to have. So if they're going to play in a Grand Slam, Felix goes into it knowing that Tsitsipas has never beaten him on a tennis court. Isn't
Absolutely.
that?
And exciting times ahead, isn't it? Exciting time. That's what you want to see as a tennis fan. The number of people, the number of new talent coming up. And
Hmm.
Prakash, that's pretty much well described by Rajke. But yeah, let's go on to some of the players here then. Let's go on to Tsitsipas, Zverev, Khachanov, and on a day, it was a day of upsets. Zverev crashing out, Khachanov crashing out. Where can these players go from here, and how far will they reach in the Wimbledon?
Yeah, so I think it's always going to be a tough ask, turning around from clay to grass. And these two guys, Kachanov and Zverev, they did make like deep runs. They went into the second week at the French Open, and that kind of, I think, has affected them, their grass court performance so far. But I guess hopefully they will use this week, to find some form on the practice court. But it's going to be a grass court. Things can happen very fast. So if you're not in the best form, it's not a court where you would be, looking to find form. So it's going to be kind of challenging for these guys. But Kachanov especially has got the game. He's got a very imposing game. So
Hmm.
maybe if he gets like a relatively friendly draw, maybe where the first two matches, if he can ease himself in, maybe then he
Yeah.
can make like a deep run, because he does really hit the ball hard, and that's the kind of game you want on a grass court. As for Zverev, he's been having issues, and particularly at Grand Slams. So it would be a nice place, to really uh, make a deep run and get rid of all those slam questions, very much like how Federer did in 2003 when he won. He had a lot of questions on him,
Hmm.
because he was not delivering at slams, and he had, I think, 2001 he made like two back-to-back quarterfinals at French Open and Wimbledon, but then after that he didn't make a second week of the slam. And in 2003 French Open he lost in the first round. But then, of course, Federer had won Halle before winning the Wimbledon, but Zverev does not have that. But he has had a lot of experience winning big titles. So we will see. Lendl, I think, is back with him. So hopefully, he could guide him, and it'll be great to see these guys, really put things together. But right now, I would say, is actually looking a little bleak the way they lost, kind of early at Hala and Queens.
Yeah, and great that you mentioned there. The transition from clay to grass. But Rajki, here's a question for you,
Mhm.
and from our on Twitter.
Okay.
from a very avid Federer fan. And Kasturi asks outlook for the next gen at Wimbledon and who goes the furthest. Like I asked Prakash, I'm going to ask you as well because that's a subjective question.
Mhm.
Outlook for next gen. What would be the outlook for these next gen players at Wimbledon and who goes the furthest of all of these?
Well, that obviously depends on the draw, but I'm going to say Felix and Tsitsipas.
That's it. I mean,
Yes.
something about their outlook.
Well, the others, Zverev, I'm not convinced yet about his Grand Slam performances. He would get back on the road in Grand Slams, but that's going to take time. Medvedev, he had a good tournament in Halle, but I don't think that grass is necessarily his best surface. And Hatsuno, I think hard courts is where we are going to see the best of most of these guys because I think they need more experience to start playing better on the grass.
Hmm.
Having said that, I remember Hatsuno having a good match against Nadal a couple of years ago at Wimbledon. I don't think he took a set, but he did trouble Nadal a little bit. Some of the sets were close. This, if I remember right, is 2017 Wimbledon. But no, I mean, like among all of them, I think Tsitsipas and Felix are going to be tough to beat at Wimbledon.
So there you have it. There's the answer that for the question, Kasturi, and I hope you listen to this episode because it's been a short one and we've kept it crisp as you asked, as the feedback has been for the last 4 episodes, and a bit of a delay in the recording. But anyway, we are here finally with the net connection being right. It's 7:20 in the morning here. We've covered everything we wanted to do. Is the Wimbledon draws we qualifiers week, guys? And Prakash, Dustin Brown is in the qualifiers. Uh, who else? Who else amongst the qualifiers do you think is going to make it big at the Wimbledon, according to you?
Uh,
Yes, Prakash. Hello.
yeah, I think we'll need at this part. I'm not really keen. I mean, I haven't been following the qualifiers part, so we'll have to have. Yeah.
If you were the one asking me, I would have replied the same. We have to, but the main tournament Rajke starts on the
So I didn't.
1st of July, yeah, and we will be recording one episode after the draws are out. So as like we did with the French Open, if you guys remember, and this time the transition from one platform to the other won't take much time. So yeah, it's going to be fun. Well, it's been a very busy week in terms of the grass court season. We are up and running. Federer winning at Halle, beating Goffin 7-6, 6-1, and capturing his 10th Halle title, 102nd ATP World Tour title overall. A fantastic achievement. Feliciano Lopez winning the double, beating Simon in the final at Queens, and then winning the doubles tournament with Andy Murray. So it's been a week of comebacks, a week of 37-year-olds dominating the surface, dominating the sport. But the Wimbledon starts next week, and as I said, we will be back here for the draws to discuss the draws and the potential matchups. Have our picks. If you guys remember, we picked Schwartzman, who then peaked, and then again Medvedev smoked him this time at the Queens. So it's going to be exciting. The grass court season is here. Rajke's favorite player is back, the defending champion Djokovic. Any
Yes.
final thoughts, guys, on this episode before we wrap this up? Starting with you, Prakash.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the biggest tournament in the sport, right? Wimbledon. So, and I would say the build up to some extent, right, with the top players, both Nadal and Djokovic not playing the warm ups, and Federer coming. I mean, he won the title, but as I said, it's kind of patchy, his form. And of course, Murray is not playing at all. He's only playing the doubles. So it's like, looks like, there is a good chance for someone to really step it up here. And as we had discussed, right, Wimbledon hasn't fallen out out of the hands of the big four. So it could be a, and again, but even the other side, when you look at the next gen, as we discussed, they have been kind of not too hot, they kind of cooled down, uh, except I guess the young Felix. So now, I mean, Lopez of all, he's a guy who's actually a tournament director. That he won a tournament, a big tournament like Queens. It it opens up like, I mean, yeah, this could be like really wild, this tournament, right? And things can happen so fast on grass. Nothing is guaranteed, and yeah, I mean, it feels like there's a good chance. I feel like we'll see something really out of the blue, like maybe like a Chilich at 2014 US Open kind of winner who we don't see right now.
Yeah, correct. So all excited for this unpredictable grass slam, which is about to come. Rajki, let's have your closing statements for the episode.
So so 37-year-olds have won both tournaments, and if that trend is going to continue, well, maybe that's a good sign for Federer.
Correct. 21, especially for us because we want him to extend that gap and not
Yeah.
make it sound like a Fed fan express. But anyway,
Yeah, and then of course Felix and Federer share the same birthday. I forgot to mention that. That's another
True.
interesting thing, but of course
Yeah.
Felix is just 18 years old, but they share the
And
same.
Tsitsipas has the same birthday as Sampras.
yeah, and Prakash had a very good tweet on the birthday week saying, he's bound for greatness. That week of that month of August, and I think even Rod Laver has his birthday somewhere around that time.
Yeah, August 9th.
Yes, so August 8th, 9th, and 12th, and so
Right.
yeah, and we have already starting to see Tsitsipas versus Felix. Tsitsipas saying, that there are chances that Felix has got the double over him, and can he beat him is the question. So there are doubts in his mind as well. So that rivalry could be intense going forward, hopefully.
And a lot of respect between the two of them, because Felix then replied. Felix also pointed out that Tsitsipas' wins over Federer and Djokovic and Nadal, all three of them, whereas Felix is still to beat any of them. So a lot of mutual respect between those two next generation players.
Great. And you guys, we have to be back for the draws, guys. So we will be recording one more time before the Monday because the tournament starts on a Monday. And we have to be here for one more episode. So we'll pop in a tweet like last time, and let's hope we get some questions. Do make sure to share this episode with everyone you know, and keep supporting the Tennis Galaxy podcast. I hope you have enjoyed. We've discussed everything about Halle, Queens, and the next gen, moving and wrapping it up with Wimbledon. Here's your host, Prasad, signing out with Prakash and Rajki on this episode of the Tennis Galaxy podcast.
Bye till the next
Thank you.
time, guys.
Thanks.